of course, at 7,500 RPM that we run these engines up to, the engine isn't being water-cooled.
At Sandown, prior to that problem, you were right in there mixing it with Moffat. Now you've got it fixed. Can you mix it with the top guys through the rest of the year?
I think so. I believe I've got the best car on the circuit. I've got the best two boys in the country, Pat Purcell and Johnny Scola. There's no question that the car is a potentially front runner. It's just a matter of time. I've still got a little bit to learn about driving these big cars, but when we get our combination in order, I'm sure we'll be right up the front there.
Well, I guess it's a pain for you that now that you seem to have things right, they're about to phase out.
It appears that way. In my opinion, I think the rules should be frozen for 2 years to give all the competitors a chance to wear out the stock that they have, and there's some really good cars amongst this category, and to put the axe through it at the end of this year would be a real crime, I think. There's too much money. This car's worth about $70,000, and at the end of the year you can't sell it because there's no class that can race it.
Looking ahead, have you got any ideas what you will go to eventually in Group A?
Well, at this stage there's no confirmed arrangements have been made with the regulations for Group A, but I would think anybody that didn't go Japanese would be making a mistake.
Meantime, it's Amaroo. It's a hell of a handful, this car around here. How do you manage it?
Well, as I say, the boys put a lot of work into the car. It handles like nothing else I've ever driven. It's got 480 horsepower. Puts the power on the road nicely. We've qualified at a 52.4 this morning, and I think we'll be right.
All righty, we'll be looking for you in the final heat of the better breaks. Thanks very much, Steve Masterton, and it's back to you, Mike.
Mike is up, ready to go racing. Okay, getting the rubber onto the racetrack, but the little Nissan Turbo, 3 big gulps of air and the mixture, and it's off and running, leading the first time up Bitchapave Hill, with Steve Masterton in second place. A good start by Richards on the inside, and just back behind him is Dick Johnson in car number 17. Then Garry Wilmington with Brian Callahan and Mike Bergman, the next two back.
That's 3 out of 3, Mike, that Garry Scott has given Masterton the go-by off the front row of the grid. First heat, of course, a small nudge saw him out of business down in the late corner. But since then, he's really shown the way, hasn't he, the first part of the race?
Exactly. Just keep the lines right. Come out of Honda corner. Masterton gets the throttle down and runs down the inside. Just look at the power of the car.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Keep in mind the Nissan Turbo is a bit of a twitchy car to drive at the best of times, and on a very short track like Amaroo, it's quite a handful. Okay, but he's not going to give up. 1 down, 9 remain in the final today. Round 1 of the Better Break Series. The car screwing beneath our camera position on the front straight here at Amaroo Park.
Going through there too, I noticed that Mike Bergman in the big Commodore has got away to a better start this time and is slotted in about 7th spot at the moment.
Steve Masterton going right to the outside, gets the line right for the exit from that corner. And now Garry Scott finds Jim Richards in the BMW up pretty close to him, looking for an inside. Masterton, though, is in front. Looks like a clean sweep for the Ford driver. Here's Garry Scott in the Nissan Turbo, car number 16, Richards in the 31 BMW, and Johnson in the green machine, the Falcon, coming down behind Jim Richards.
Johnson got a ton of power, just hasn't got the car handling the way he'd like it at this stage of the season. Sitting right on the hammer of Jimmy Richards as they come up Bitchapave Hill once more.
Pretty busy time, Dick Johnson. Dick Johnson we pick up on in race cam as they drop into Dunlop Loop. And Jim Richards in the black BMW just ahead of you. How are things going, Dick?
Oh, not too bad, Mike. The old Jimbo, he's certainly all over the road like a mad dog's you know what.
I see having as much fun as you are.
Yeah, I'll just sit back and let him wear his tyres out for a while.
I tell you what, those couple up front are a bit slick, Dick.
Come again, sorry, Garry?
I said the couple up front are a bit slick.
Yeah, you're not wrong. This is a terrible corner, this.
But gee, you're right, Jim's a bit all over the place, isn't he?
Yeah. He doesn't mind a few curves either.
Well, Steve Masterton, Dick, appears to have his act together well, particularly around this course.
Yeah, he certainly does. And, good luck to the guy. Because I'm sure that we'll get ours going shortly.
you concentrate on Jim Richards to see if you can get past there, and we'll follow your progress. Thanks, Dick.
Thanks, Bill.
Yeah, thanks to Dick Johnson, one of the few drivers who could drop a couple of one-liners and still try to be passing on the inside and outside of other cars. He's still having a good run here, Jim Richards, just poking the nose of the green Ford down, letting Richards know he's serious about trying to pass him. Race settling into a pattern now with Steve Masterton looking very, very strong here today at Amaroo Park. Coming up Bitcher Pave Hill to the crest of the top, there's our race leader.
He might have had some overheating problems and solved them, but he's still running hot at the front of the field. Ahead of Garry Scott in the Bluebird, turbocharged Bluebird, and Jim Richards being hotly chased by Dick Johnson. There he is, Steve Masterton.
Falcon's really got a good grip on this race here at the moment, with Masterton out in front, Johnson in 4th place, Garry Wilmington in another big Falcon holding down 5th spot at the present time, just ahead of Brian Callahan, also in a Falcon. Garry Scott's winner. There's Garry Scott in car number 16, the Turbo Bluebird. He's been able to do the trick off the grid every time, but just the raw power of Masterton's big V8 gets him before they've gone a lap. There he goes over the top. What a neat looking machine they are. And after some fragility in the early stages of last season with their turbos, they seem to have got those a little more, or a lot more reliable now. And as this season unfolds, these cars really are going to be a big threat.
Of course, George Fury in the Nissan Turbo won the Curtain Raiser to Bathurst here at Amaroo Park, the Celastic 300. Most of the development work in New South Wales on the racetrack had been carried out by Fred Gibson, and Fred drove the series with us at Amaroo Park last year. Garry Scott comes in now as the regular member of the team and takes over the Better Break Series for 1984.
Jim Richards still being hounded by Dick Johnson, coming up Bitcher Pave Hill once more. Doesn't say much, does Jim Richards, but when the whips are cracking, he knows how to throw this car around any circuit in Australia. And he wouldn't be in the least concerned about Dick Johnson being that close to him.
No, they're professional racers, have a lot of confidence in their respective ability on any racetrack. There's Richards coming off the Honda corner. Johnson sitting in behind, plans to go for the next round of the Touring Car Championship. Spend 4 days at Simmons Plains doing more development work.
That was close to the wall. Here they come round over the top, Steve Masterton. He's going to run into the biggest cloud of dust you've ever seen in your life as he gets round through Dunlop Loop here that was left by Mike Bergman's big Commodore when he got a little sideways off the circuit.
There's the gap first to second, and the gap from second to third and fourth drivers is coming into view then. Scott very, very tidy indeed. I think he would have benefited greatly by his run here today at Amaroo Park. It takes a while, as the racers like to say, to dial in this circuit. And when you start tackling guys like Steve Masterton that have won here very convincingly, going back a few years in Ford Capris, then up in the Falcon, the locals who run this place better than most, guys like Terry Finnigan, it's quite a big job that Scott has ahead of him to try and win the Better Breaks AMSCAR Series for 84, but he's doing a great job here today. Second at the moment on the road to Steve Masterton.
Third place Jim Richards, Dick Johnson in 4th place, then Garry Wilmington holding down 5th, Brian Callahan in 6th spot, and Christine Gibson in the turbocharged Pulsar is in 7th place on the circuit at the moment. Teammate of Garry Scott. Scott going through there in car number 16. And of course Christine's husband Fred Gibson drove this car, campaigned this car here last year.
Garry Scott still trailing Steve Masterton by, I suppose, 100 metres. And at least that much again back to Jim Richards and Dick Johnson. So he's virtually running a race on his own, is Garry Scott.
Well, last lap board coming up for Steve Masterton. Goes across the straight. There's some of the action inside our outside broadcast van here at Amaroo Park today. Our director Ian Hurst in control of the bringing the pictures on the racetrack to you at home. There's a fellow in control. That's Steve Masterton, about half a lap away from a clean sweep in the opening round of the Better Break Series here today at Amaroo Park. As they say, Steve Masterton is almost home.
There's no answer to that.
Certainly built a big lead.
It's a big performance, actually, because these cars can be a real handful, and I've never seen this car go so well.
And be so quick all day. I think he's throwing the gauntlet down now to the Mazda drivers, because Masterton, 3 from 3, unbeaten at Amaroo Park, takes round 1 of the Better Breaks AMSCAR Series. Out of the last turn comes Jimmy Richards and the JPS BMW.